Hi, everybody. Hope you're having a tremendous weekend. Um, like I promised, I'd start off the video with some questions from the test that I thought were not so great. That might end up on your new one, and then just do a couple on that worksheet I gave you, and then just do realize on that worksheet, if you look at the calendar, I did say it on the calendar as well that the third and fourth page has the answers at least. But I will do a couple, and we'll talk about that later. But there was the first one that was a disaster, and that's why your worksheet starts off with those geometry questions where you put something in terms of something else. So you recall, and I do have one on the worksheet that's just like this. You know what? Just take a look at this work. We're going to do that one on the worksheet that's very similar. Remember, this is YouTube. You can press pause and look at the work and let it sink in your brain. Well, let's move on. Okay, and let's look at ones that are on there. Remember this glorious picture? What we really screwed up if we did not do this question right was looking for that hidden behavior or like zooming in and finding that zero, for instance. So I'm sorry that you can't see that polynomial very well. But a case of that is this one where that says negative x to the fourth, parentheses x minus 1 raised to the fifth, all over the square root of x plus 7. What all y'all didn't do that got this wrong was zoom in and understand that there are two zeros, 0 and 1, and then at those zeros, 0 and 1, something has to be happening. The graph just doesn't go like this and go skid across and go to the other one. So you have to have the ability to zoom in, figure out where this is hitting the x-axis, and then analyze the inequality, whatever it may be, even though you can't really see that one. That's not the point. We had so many homework quizzes that hopefully you save your stuff that we tested you on that. We being me and my many personalities. So you got to do a better job at that, those that got these questions wrong. And then to understand in this little square root on the bottom thing, there is an asymptote there. So some of you said negative infinity to 0 there. So, have an idea what's happening there, why there's an asymptote, because there is a restriction on the domain, and the graph just behaves that way up to that restriction. All right? And then, I'm not going to do another one like this on the worksheet. I don't have one, but the ability to read a question, oh, for the love of dog. And, sorry, I'm so ADD. When something like that happens, it just ruins my life. All right, I'm okay now. So distance equals rate times time, and then read the question, and it's all in terms of time. So it doesn't have to be a D equals RT question Monday. But something like it where you just have length times width equals area, and then turning it into area equals, and then plugging it into something else, which I'm going to show you. I think that's what number 4 kind of does. Blah blah blah. And then reading this, and then I actually gave you the hint that all you had to do is replace this equation. So we got my Brianna going to Florida. All right. So instead of distance equals rate times time, turn it into time equals d over r. The distance she travels there at a slower rate, that will be a longer time. Okay, minus, and she was 10 miles an hour slower. That's why we put that. Minus, that was the distance back, I believe. The distance there was faster, so this is a shorter time. Longer time minus shorter time equals the difference, 5 hours, and then you solve this rational thing. All right, so the ability to do that. Remember how we did this, but I don't really care about that too much. That was supposed to be extra credit, so we're going to move on. Whoops. I don't care about that either. Sorry. Good we get to see that. So now to this one. What were some bad questions on this? Some of us missed these. I think you could figure out what you did wrong on those, so that's not a big deal. This should not have been multiple choice, because some of you bums just did it's multiple choice, so I'm going to check all these answers. And I don't know how you ended up getting D on that, and I didn't like it. And some of you just picked a letter, and none of this work was here. No way. So if I do a question like this, it's on your redo worksheet. It wouldn't be multiple choice, and you have to prove your work. So you can take a look at that. That's the purpose of the video. You could stop, watch it, look at the screenshot, if you will, and figure it out from there. And then this is another one I was, furious. Because we had questions like this on our homework quiz, I believe. And then even though I took your graph and calculator away, there's always something between vertical asymptotes. So all you had to do is, with your regular calculator, plug in 5.5 per se. All right, and then just have the ability to, evaluate 5.5 on your regular calculator. That's not a big deal. You get a negative, right? So that just means, okay, you got a negative. There's no other x-intercepts. It's got to behave to the asymptotes, and we're down there. So we got like a little parabola-looking thing, even though it's not a parabola. All right? And then also hidden behavior. All right, so how would I know this happens? Well, first of all, we had a question like this exactly before. So when we have x-intercepts at 1 and -3, and then the graph, you can plug in something like right here and figure out that you get a big number. Horizontal asymptotes can be crossed, so the behavior has to be this, then this. Well, and it doesn't come back to another x-intercept, so it approaches the horizontal asymptote after that. So this part is below the x-axis, which means those are output values that are less than or equal to 0. All right, and then this little chunk, just by plugging, you got to say to yourself, uh-oh, I got vertical asymptotes here, something's here, and I already went through all that. And then why do I know this is up here? There's no more x-intercepts over here, so that's got to be up there. Or you could plug in a point, and that's not out of the realm of your abilities with a regular calculator. Should not be anyway. All right, just take a look at this one. This is another classic adventure of crossing a horizontal asymptote and approaching from the other side. So be very careful on a rational function graph, and then doing your thing. So I'm just skipping over this. You can stop the movie again and look at those. And then how do you find an oblique asymptote? You physically divide, or if you have the option, synthetic divide. My brain almost left me there. And then you guys really messed up the word even. So if you remember me going over that, the really markered stuff was the absolute things that had to be written from the bottom 4 things, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, but then the word even is the rest in pen. All this other stuff would have to happen to be y-axis symmetry. So I'm not going to do all these, but you should be able to figure out 1. That's not that bad. 2, I think we had one almost exactly like it, if not exactly like it. And I took a screenshot of the board of my work or someone else's when I first got my fantastic app of using my phone and then turning it into a PDF. Nobody cares. Okay, to speed this up, this is where I felt there was a problem. This is from 1.7, talking about those geometry questions. I'll do this one. Write the volume of a cylinder as a function of its radius. But you got to read this first part. Write circular cylinder equals its diameter. So the height equals its diameter. So that's why I put a D here. Of course, D is 2 R's. All right, so here's the radius of this right circular cylinder, and here's the volume of a right circular cylinder. Big B, which is a circle, pi r squared, times h. All right, so write it in terms of its radius. So what I do for h is I put 2r in its place. So this one's kind of a Mickey Mouse one, but this is what you do. You're getting a formula in terms of something else, and I think that's what kind of missed on that one question I showed you in a test earlier, the 256 rectangle one area, and then going to surface area after that or something like that. I don't know if it's a rectangle. I forget already. I'm old. Leave me alone. Okay, but this one, open top regular, you can read. All right, it will hold 108. 108. Don't say and. That means a decimal. I'm talking to myself. And volume equals length times width times height, but each side has a length of x on the bottom or the base of the square, and then the height we'll call y. Okay? Express the surface area as a function of the length x of a side of a base. That means we need to call y 108 divided by x times x. That ties these together. So this has a volume of 108. All right, so this y can be expressed in terms of x because of that link, I guess we could call that. Now, what's surface area if this is an open top? There is no top here, so you have 2 sides, left and right, front, back, and bottom. So bottom is just x times x plus side, which is x times y, that's the right side, but y is 108 over x times x. And there's two of those because that's the left side. And actually, I'm sorry, that's also the front and the back. So front and back is x times y as well as the left and the right sides in this. So there's actually four of these, amazingly. All right. So this is x squared, and then this is plus. These x's cancel. We could just do that right now. And 4 times 108 is 400 plus 32. Right? So there is the surface area in terms of x, and the link was the volume that you had to have. So that's how you were allowed to get the this length or width or height. This height, we'll call it, in terms of x, and then use it for a bridge into the next question. So, or turning that into a surface area question now in terms of x only. And I think that's what was really missed when we had those questions. I think you can do these. This just requires factoring and then polynomial game, please. Way too easy. I just thought I'd remind you of those things. Please, I'm not covering that. All right, and then oh, this one I love it because I told you about this, and then honestly I didn't do a super duper thing here making up these own questions, but I used the books thingamajig to make this, and lo and behold, this is off by 2. So the oblique asymptote is actually parabolic. Very well said if you did that. And then what am I doing? I'll stop that. Synthetic division. All right. And then I couldn't, that's what you say, couldn't care less about the remainder. So what is this? Y equals x squared, minus 4x plus 13. That is how the ends of the graph are going to behave. What? Well, look at the solution at the end here. Well, I bet you that parabola, oh, I should dot that, would graph something along these lines. And you can actually find more about that parabola than I'm actually given here. But there's a parabola, and then look at this rational function. Its ends behave parabolically. Easy for me to say. All right? So, I thought that was an interesting question. You can look at that answer, like I said, on page 3. I just thought I'd cover that because we did have a question about, that kind of stuff. I'm going to say I'm struggling for words. It's been a long week. All right. I gave you a Mickey Mouse little rational function here. Nothing real special. You can look at the answer below in order to do that. Maybe we'll do 11 and 12. Okay, all I'm going to do is start 11, though, because I'm tired. And you should know how to do this. This is in your notes. This is what you do. Now, I did have a calculator in your hand, so don't do a graphing calculator on this. As a matter of fact, when you look at the solutions right here, you do get 2 more I zeros other than negative 5i as well. So you synthetically divide. Use your calculator just to multiply some numbers, and you get blah, blah, blah. Some of these have i's in there. Then you synthetically divide by negative 5i. Blah, blah, blah. You get another 0. And then what you get is an x squared, blah, 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 that you can do the quadratic formula on. Now, you're in honors. We actually had these questions in your notes. Check those notes in order to get that done correctly, because then all you have to do is the quadratic formula, and I think you get 2 more I zeros. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I can't remember the key. Take a look at it. All right, and then the last one this is almost exactly like the test question situation. Consider all rectangles with an area of 256. Stop. X times y equals 256. That's the area of a rectangle. I don't have to have a rectangle tomorrow or Monday. The idea is you use this information in order to read the next part and say to yourself, how do I get an equation that's in one variable? So let x be the length of one side of such rectangle. That's what I did. Express the perimeter. Stop. Hammer time. perimeter is 2x plus 2y in this little scenario as well. All right, so express the perimeter as a function of x and determine the, okay, that's the next part. So express the perimeter as a function of x means I need to change y in terms of x. So this is exactly what the test was. You certainly won't see something exactly like this, but the concept, the idea of no matter what geometric figure I have, the ability to turn a function in terms of something else from what's written in the question. Doesn't have to be verbatim, you people. All right, plus 512 over x, or it doesn't have to be a question where I just change the numbers and then that's all you have to do like a robot. Okay, you got to be able to do this process, let's say. So now what do? I put 80 in here, and then I solve this rational situation after this, because now I have a perimeter. I want to check, what would these dimensions become? Okay, so basically I'll multiply both sides by x equals 2x squared plus 512. What? I think I'm getting dyslexic, which is fine if you have that problem. I understand. Switching things around. And then my pen stopped working. What is happening? I have no time for this on a Friday. Okay. So, and then I'm going to divide everything by 2. X squared minus 40x. Oh dear. Minus 250 plus 256. Never was good at math. Anyway, wow, does this end up being real nice? I'm going to think about this factorization and see if it is factorable here in a minute. I'm going to go through this with you. And I only thought about it for a minute, but you had a calculator for this, just a regular scientific. So what you do is you go close to negative 40. Like, what's negative 20 times negative 20? And the answer is positive 400. So it's not that. So let's try like negative 10 times 30. Why would I even try that? Negative 10 times negative 30 is 300. So what I need to do is spread out. So I'm using a sum to get these numbers that add up to negative 40. And I'll try negative 8, a negative 8 apparently. Struggling. Times negative 32, because I know those add up to, oh my goodness. So this is x minus 8, x minus 32. So wait a minute, you get x equals 8? Well, then that means if x equaled 8, which is one of the lengths, then y would equal 32. So the length would equal 8, or the width would equal 32. Or x would equal 32. Take a wild hunch what y would equal in this scenario. 8. So it's not really a big deal. But this is really how you read that. This gets you one scenario, this gets you another. They're the same scenario. Just saying either the length could be 32 or the width could be 32, and it's not what they're asking here. They just asked for the dimensions. So I made this work out a little bit nicer than what was on the test, but that's not a big deal. You should be able to handle it, okay? All right, so I don't know if this helps. It's something. It's not nothing. Good luck on Monday. I do want you to do well. So looking for 30 points, anywhere from 8 to 10 questions. I'm going to